I welcome all of you for this Dr. Bhanuben Mahendra Nanavati Golden Jubilee Oration. For this, I would like to invite the chairpersons for the oration, Dr. Adi Dastur sir, Sir is Chairman Board of Trustees of MOGS, past President of IAG, MOGS, special work in academic interest in fetal heart rate monitoring and fetoscopy and fetal blood sampling and various other activities.
I invite our next chairperson, Dr. C.N. Purandare, who's been President FIGO 2015-18. He's been President FOXY. He's the Dean of ICOG, Editor Emeritus of the Journal of Obstetric and Gynaec of India. Sir has been conferred on numerous fellowships by various universities all over the world. He doesn't require any kind of introduction. Welcome, sir.
I invite Dr. Mandakini Megh Madam. Madam is current chairperson of ICOG, Vice President FOXY 2012-13, and chairperson of FOXY Imaging Committee 2005 to 2009, and joint organizing secretary of AICOG 2013. Welcome, madam.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Should I start next?
Yes, madam, you can start.
So, good morning, everyone. At the outset, I'd like to congratulate Reshma for that unique installation. And everybody said it is historic, but I can say that this is a very unique and first MOGS present to be installed in very different way. So this is heartiest congratulations. Also, Dr. Jaideep, such a wonderful year full of activities. Dr. Niranjan, thank you for that great year. I congratulate Anahita Chauhan and all of the new managing committee for looking forward for this unlocking the knowledge in the lockdown period. And also as a ICOG chairperson, looking forward for many of the associations of academics, conference, and fully academics in this year 2020. I also congratulate newly elected MOGS executive members. Welcome, and we last year Dr. Jaideep had a wonderful year. Thank you, Jaideep, for that great year. So with this, I start with the brief introduction of Dr. Bhanuben Nanavati oration. This is called the MOGS Dr. Bhanubati Mahendra Nanavati Golden Jubilee oration. Before getting to the Bhanuben Mahendra Nanavati Golden Jubilee oration, let's try and understand the philosophy of this benevolent women. The Sunflower Hospital, which was managed by the late Bhanuben, along with her husband, Dr. Mahendra Nanavati, is a true testimony of their philanthropic disposition. The entire income of the hospital is exclusively for medical, educational purposes through the Dr. Bhanuben Foundation. Both husband and wife cared for the community, and donations amount well over rupees 1.5 crore, which was a very huge amount in those days to donate. Also, incidentally, Dr. Mrs. Nanavati was a life member of our Bombay Obstetric and Gynaec Society, and she used to take a lot of active interest in the activity of the organization. Like, she was regularly attending the scientific meetings, and also she was thus aware of the fact that society needs continuous funds, and that is how she has donated 50,000 rupees during the Golden Jubilee celebrations. Also, in 2000, Mr. Nanavati has also donated another fund, that is 50,000, making total corpus of around 2 lakhs rupees, which is a huge sum. Now the members are availing that loan scholarship, and also availing, the corpus is now swelled up to 2 lakhs, and the interest is expected to take care of the rising cost of the organization oration in the future. The donation also went a long way in making the society self-sufficient and also organizing prestigious oration. Friends, we had very prestigious orators in the past. First oration was the orator was last 5 years, 2015-16. First was Dr. Charles Coe, USA. He delivered his oration on scientific artistry of the laparoscopy microsurgery. The year 16 and 17 saw Dr. Alka Triplani delivering this oration, that is endoscopy surgery in BOH and uterine anomalies. 2017-18, Professor Arul Kumaran, UK, has delivered his prestigious oration on fetal origin of adult diseases. And now, very recently in 2018 and 19, Dr. Shailesh Puntambekar delivered uterine transplant surgery. And 1920, Dr. Ravi Chandran, Malaysia, delivered this prestigious oration on adolescent sexual and reproductive health window of opportunity. And friends, it's very happy to welcome Dr. Alpesh Gandhi, who is going to deliver this oration of 2021. And I request Dr. C.N. Purandare to please introduce Dr. Alpesh Gandhi, who is the orator of this prestigious oration. Welcome, Doctor.
I am really delighted to introduce Alpesh, who's been, I've known him for many, many years now. He is currently the president of FOXI, as you all know. We don't need any specific introduction to him. He's vice president of FOXI. He was in 2013, governing council member of ICOG FOXI from 16 to 17, chairperson of Practical Obstetric Committee, vice president of Gestosis India chapter, past president of the Ahmedabad OBGY Society, past secretary of Ahmedabad OBGY Society, convener of the most successful AICOG 2017 at Ahmedabad, past joint convener of SOGOG, and past treasurer of SOGOG, national coordinator of the emergency obstetric care, and the amount of work that he has done on HDU is phenomenal. And I must add to what you see on the screen that he was conferred the honorary fellowship of the RCOG for his contribution to obstetric gynecology. Alpesh, mic is yours.
Thank you very much, sir, for the kind words, kind introduction. A very good morning to all of you. At the outset, I must congratulate my friend Dr. Jaideep Tak and Niranjan for the excellent work for the Mumbai Obstetric and Gynecological Society, and my best wishes to Dr. Risma Pai and Anahita and her team for taking over the charge of the Mumbai Obstetric and Gynecological Society. I feel honored with this oration. Great orators. I have listened the list from Dr. Mandakini Meg Madam. I am honored to be included in a list of such great personalities and great academicians. So I am thankful to Mumbai Obstetric Gynec Society for honoring me and giving me this opportunity to speak on a topic, rational use of blood and its component in obstetrics. Resma, I would like to mention one thing. When you installed at Ahmedabad in 2017, I was there. And when you installed as President Mumbai Obstetric Society, I am with you. So you can consider me lucky for you. And probably this is my first oration on a digital platform, and probably this may be the first oration on digital platform for Mumbai even, or maybe for the FOX also. So this is a new experience for me and for all of us. Namaste, very good morning. The theme for this year is Safety First for Indian women and Foxians. And when we took over at Lucknow, we were not knowing this theme will be so much pertaining for this year. We were not knowing that we have to face a new challenge, new health crisis, and the global enemy, COVID-19 pandemic. We have to postpone all our plans, and we have to work from very beginning on a topic which we have never thought of or never worked on it. But we are trying our best to help our members, to help Foxians, to help our patients in communication with the Government of India, ICMR, WHO, UNICEF, Niti Aayog, and all. And we are trying to keep Foxy high. We are trying our best and hard. So the theme is very pertinent, and as per the theme, there are many ways to work for the safety, but one thing which we have decided is to work on improving infrastructure, as Dr. Purandare sir has just mentioned about the HDU ICU. That is one aspect. Similarly, we also decided to work on making blood component available across India, because in our small study we found that still even in 50 or 40 to 50% of medical colleges in India, blood components are not available. So this is a very serious matter, and that is why we also have decided for the safety to work on this side, and that is why I selected the topic. This is a very famous scene of a very famous movie. I hope all of us must have seen this movie more than one time. Three sons, late Vinod Khanna, late Rishi Kapoor, and Amitabh Bachchan are lying on side-by-side cots and giving blood directly to their mother Nirupama Roy. And when the scene was picturized, Amitabh Bachchan refused to perform, not possible. And then director Manmohan Desai requested, explained, and because of his request, Mr. Bachchan became ready to perform the scene. But the important and interesting aspect is when the theater was in the movie was in the theater, this scene received maximum applause from the audience. And this is because when we are discussing something for the blood transmission, people are involved emotionally. They do not think anything scientific, but they involved emotionally. And that is why our responsibility increases a lot to know the proper blood transmission technique. It is believed that it is blood is more majority time it is used for the trauma patient or a surgical patient, but in one of the study conducted by WHO in Southern Eastern Asian countries was found that 30% of the blood was used for the obstetric cases. So 1/3 of the patients, 1/3 of the blood is used by us. Similarly, in the same study, it was found by WHO that its practice is not proper in 45% of the places. So we are using the maximum blood. At the same time, we are also responsible for the improper practice at 45% places. And that is why we should know the blood safety and proper blood transfusion. So being a practical obstetric committee chairperson and vice president, I got an opportunity to move across India. And working for the obstetric HDU ICU, I got an opportunity to know the different blood transfusion protocols and practices at different places in our country. And because of this, I attempted to make an oration on this topic. As we all know, that purpose for transfusion is replacement or therapeutic. I will not go in detail of it. And as we all also know that 350 ml of blood is collected from a donor into a plastic bag containing anticoagulant, and this is known as 1 unit of whole blood. It can be separated in these different components. It can be used as a whole blood, or the components can be used. Now, would like to discuss about the few practices. One myth is when patient loses whole blood, only whole blood should be given. Because when patient loses whole blood, all the components are lost, and whole blood is containing all the components, so whole blood should be given so that patient will receive all the components. But what is fact? Fact is the use of whole blood is an unscientific, inefficient, unhealthy, and criminal waste of a valuable resource. And these harsh words are not mine, but of WHO. And this is because We'll see in next few minutes why this is so. If we compare the storage requirements of different components, then whole blood is to be stored at 4 to 6 degrees centigrade, red cells at 4 degrees centigrade, platelets FFP, platelet 20 to 24 degrees centigrade, FFP and cryoprecipitate at minus 20 to minus 30 degrees centigrade. It means when we are giving whole blood to a patient, the component which should be stored at minus 20 to minus 30 degrees centigrade are not active, are inefficient. And when we are giving whole blood, it's a wrong assurance. By giving whole blood, we are giving all the components. Actually, we are giving only RBCs, and other components are not active or not efficient. Similarly, if we compare the different shelf life of all the components, then red cells 35 to 40 days, FFP 1 year, cryoprecipitate 1 year, platelet 5 days. It means what? When we are giving whole blood to a patient for the rising of the hemoglobin for the treatment of anemia, we all know that hemoglobin cannot be raised with the platelet or cryoprecipitate. But when we are giving whole blood for the rising of the hemoglobin, the components which can be separated out like FFP and cryoprecipitate are not separated. If we could have separated those components, and if we could have stored this component, then we can use this component in a patient who genuinely later on required these components. So this is a criminal wastage of valuable resources like cryoprecipitate, FFP, and platelet. Similarly, if we compare the volume of all the components, then the platelet RBCs is 250 to 300 milliliter, whereas in whole blood it is 350 to 400 ml. Why this is important? Because when patient loses, when there is a massive blood loss, we may require 10, 15, 20 units of blood, and at that time more units means more volume, and more volume means more overloading complications. So sometimes because of the volume also we may face problems of overloading problem or because of the blood transfusion. Similarly, if we look at the volume of a platelet, then it is 1 unit platelet is 50 ml blood, 50 ml volume, and 1 ml or 1 unit of cryoprecipitate means 25 to 30 ml of volume. Again, why this is important? When the volume is less, it can be completed within a shorter time. Suppose patient is having 20,000 platelet, and if we want to increase the level to 50,000, then usually by giving 1 unit of platelet, the count will be increased by 6 to 8,000, and we may require 4 unit of platelet. 3 to 4 unit of platelet can be given, 1 unit can be completed within 10 minutes. So within 30 to 40 minutes, we can cure the problem of deficiency of platelet. If we are going to give it in whole blood, then again it may take 3 to 4 units, and it may take 6 to 8 hours. Similarly, just think logically, when there is an acute massive blood loss, what will happen to a patient? Patient may develop 4 types of problems: hypovolemia, hypoxia, clotting factors, or platelet deficiency. But solution for all these problems are different. For hypovolemia, we require plasma expander. For hypoxia, we require packed cells, packed RBCs. For clotting factors, we require FFP and cryoprecipitate. And for platelet, we require platelet. Again, important thing is all these different problems provide us different optimal time for its correction. So platelet deficiency should be corrected within few hours. Coagulation defects should be corrected within 2 to 4 hours. Hypovolemia and hypoxia can be corrected within 6 to 12 hours. Why this is important? When we are going to give whole blood to a patient when there is a massive blood loss, the platelet deficiency should be corrected first, will not be corrected first, and the hypoxia and hypovolemia will be taken care first. If platelet deficiency will not be corrected first, then we may require more units of blood because the leak may not be sealed, and whatever amount of blood we may give may come out, and that is why we may require more units of blood. And probably blood bank it may not be possible for blood bank to provide those many units, or relatives may not be able to provide those many donors, and unnecessarily we may create crisis. So what we should do? Ideally, we should take, when there is a massive blood loss, we should take 2 IV lines. In one line, immediately we should start cryoprecipitate and platelets, and we should give 4 units of cryoprecipitate and 4 units of platelets, which can be completed within 40 to 45 minutes. And in the same line, later on, we can start FFPs. Similarly, in the second IV line, we can start red cells. So by doing this, what we are doing, we are taking 3 to 4 care. things which should be taken in priority should be cured first, will be taken care first. We may require lesser unit of blood units, and because of this, patient may develop may have less chances of complications. So this is known as the rational use of blood. Rational means right product should be given in right dose at right time for the right reason. And nowadays, only indication for whole blood is non-availability of blood components. Otherwise, in developed world, we are behind by nearly 20 years. In developed world, usually components are used. So coming to the massive transfusion protocol, what is MTP? Massive transfusion protocol. When there is a massive blood loss, we should follow this protocol. The principle of this protocol basic principle is to treat aggressively to prevent refractory coagulopathy and begin the resuscitation with blood components as soon as possible. Different schools have different thoughts, and usually 4 units of PCV, 4 units FFP, 4 units of platelets are given, 4 cryoprecipitate are given. Similarly, some institutes are following a principle of 6 PCV, 6 cryoprecipitate, 6 FFP platelet. But basic principle is same, 1:1:1. So this is the massive transfusion protocol, and this protocol, this therapy is guided by laboratory assessment. So 1 unit of platelet count should be maintained about 50,000. Fibrinogen level should be maintained above 150 milligram. Hemoglobin should be maintained above 9 gram. And for that, usually when there is a massive blood loss, we may require minimum 4 units. So we should give the components rather than whole blood. And till the components become available, sometimes we may require volume expander. FFP is the best for the volume expander, but till we receive the FFP, what should we do? There are different 4 types of classification of shock: hypovolemic, cardiogenic, distributive, and obstructive. Usually we are facing with the hypovolemic and septic shock, and both there's hypovolemia. Usually when there is hemorrhage, we are facing hypovolemic shock. And the signs of hypovolemic shock: increase in heart rate, respiratory rate, narrow pulse pressure, increase in shock index, fall in blood pressure, and urine output. So in such cases, we may require a fluid resuscitation, and fluid resuscitation means to push the fluid in boluses rapidly. What is rapid? Rapid means in 15 to 20 minutes, 500 ml of fluid should be pushed. So then till the FFP becomes available, which fluid should be given? In our body, the fluid is distributed in 3 components: intracellular, interstitial, and intravascular, and we should give a fluid which maintain the equilibrium balance between all 3 compartments. And if we compare all these different available fluids with plasma, then we can see that the normal saline and ringer lactate and plasmalite A are having the pH, sodium, chloride, potassium, calcium, and other components nearly similar with plasma. So ideally we should give sodium chloride, NS, or ringer lactate or plasmalite A, but we should never use DNase or 5% dextrose 5%. This may create more problem rather than solving the problem. So till FFP becomes available, we should use these fluids. And how much fluid to be given? So there are different 4 types of classification. When there is a hemorrhage, when there is blood loss less than 15%, crystalloid can be given. But when it is more than this, 15 to 30% or 30 to 40 or more than this, then at the beginning we can give crystalloid, but immediately at the earliest we should give blood components. And in preeclampsia, as there is endothelial dysfunction and leaky capillaries, we should be very much careful while giving fluids. Another important aspect is this type of patients may develop DIC. So DIC is more, we can see, is a overdiagnosed or underdiagnosed condition. Sometimes it is obstetrical DIC, and sometimes it is a man-made DIC also because of the improper blood transfusion practices. The International Society on Thrombosis and Hemostasis has declared a interesting and very useful criteria, DIC score, because there is not a single particular investigation which can diagnose DIC. We may require a battery of investigations, and many times we may require even a repeat investigations. So there are 4 different criteria: platelet count, prothrombin time, increase in fibrin marker, and fibrinogen level are included in this DIC score, and different points are given for this different values, laboratory values. Suppose platelet count is less than 50,000, then 2 points are given. At the end, total of all these 4 different parameters are done, and if it is between 0 to 4 point, then patient does not have DIC, DIC is not overt. When it is between 5 to 8 points, DIC is probable, and we may require repeat investigations. So when there is a sign of possible DIC, we should immediately warn our blood bank. We should send request to be ready with this support. Is there a use of recombinant factor 7A therapy? Yes, it is useful, but it is not a substitute, nor it should be delayed life-saving procedures like embolization or surgery, or nor the transfer of the patient. And for that, again, it's costly and not available everywhere. And before using that, we should check that hemoglobin level should be maintained about 7. Platelet count should be maintained above 50,000, and fibrinogen level should be minimum of 100 milligram. With other measures, we should correct this, and then only we should use factor 7A, recombinant factor 7A, and at the same time we should try to correct the pH. It should be more than 7.2 or equal to 7.2, otherwise the efficacy of recombinant factor 7A will be decreases if it is less than 7.1. One confusion or one wrong practice we can say is while choosing donors, relative donor and friend donor or unknown voluntary donors. But as I discussed, patients are involved emotionally, and that is why they do not want to take blood of involuntary donor, and they use many times pressure us to use the blood of the relatives. So should we use relative blood of first relation? First relation blood has 50% HLA-MH white cells, especially lymphocytes. These cells remain viable in recipient circulation, develop their clones of cells and produce antibodies, and which act on recipient cells and can lead to a worst complication, rare complication, that is graft versus host disease, which can take place 3 weeks time later on, even in 3 weeks time once the transfusion is over. Once this complication occurs, there is no treatment and it is 100% fatal. Mortality is 100%. So that is why we should never use blood of first relation. Siblings should not give blood to each other. Father, mother, father, son, daughter should not give blood to each other. The bond that links your true family is not one of blood, but of love, respect, and joy in each other's life. In Bollywood's movie, the dialogue can be there, "Khun ki sagai hai, par khun ki sagai," when khun is required is not be useful. When patient is having active bleeding and urgently needed blood, and again they are emotionally involved and friend, they may tell us that we can give the fresh blood, and in past it was a practice of using fresh blood. Should we use fresh blood or we should use only bank blood? So the ultra fresh blood is used when it is immediately used unrefrigerated, or when it is used between 24 to 48 hours, it is known as the fresh blood. In past, our seniors were very wise. They were using fresh blood because at that time components were not available. They were knowing the fact that before becoming inactive, these components are viable. Few components are still viable for few hours before becoming inactive. So to take the benefit of those few active components, they were using fresh blood, because during that time components were not available, but now components are available. Blood is not possible, proper screening is not possible. Treponema can survive up to 96 hours. Malarial parasites can survive up to 72 hours. So by giving fresh blood, there is an increased risk of disease transmission. So that is why we should not use fresh blood. And in this table, this is a table of one of the states where four mortality were reported in blood transfusion, and in all four mortality we can see donor were son or brother or sibling or sister, and fresh blood was used and whole blood was used. So this is the improper practice. We should never use whole blood, we should never use fresh blood, we should never use blood of a first relative. Then most important question is when to give blood transfusion. Blood transfusion should never be ordered unless it is worth the risk. It can lead to allergic, febrile, and hemolytic complications. Hepatitis C, hepatitis B, and HIV can be transmitted in 1 lakh to 5 lakh patients, and it can lead to a life-threatening complications like ARDS, transfusion-related acute lung injury, and multi-organ failure. Once this complication occurs, patient have to be admitted in ICU, and mortality is very, very high. So it is very important to know when to give blood. Indications are when pregnancy is less than 34 weeks and hemoglobin level is less than 5 gram%, or when patient is having cardiac failure or hypoxia signs, then it should be given. When pregnancy is more than 34 weeks and hemoglobin level is less than 7 gram%, or patient have signs of cardiac failure or hypoxia, blood transfusion is justified. When there is acute hemorrhage, again indicated is if hemoglobin level is less than 7 gram%, or when there is a hemodynamic instability, then patient is unstable hemodynamically, or patient is having cardiac failure or hypoxia sign, then blood transfusion is justified. In postpartum period, again, if it is less than 7 gram%, then or patient is having symptoms, we can think for the blood. When there is post-operative period, instead of 7%, it is suggested hemoglobin level less than 8 gram. And when there is a patient is admitted in ICU or critically ill, intensive care is there. On those patients, hemoglobin level less than 9, if less than 9, then blood transfusion can be considered. One more important thing is beta thalassemia. This is the burden induced on blood banks and society is tremendous. The most common single gene disorder in our country, and recently we have the Thalassemia Day. Over 30 million people in India carry the defective gene. Over 9,000 thalassaemic children are born every year, and more than 1 lakh units of blood used every year for thalassaemic patient. And the treatment is very expensive, high morbidity and high mortality. But unfortunately, though it is we can eradicate thalassemia from our country, just because of not proper practice or unawareness in our friends, still it is not eradicated. It is very simple to eradicate it. We all are now asking antenatal profile to all our patients. We just need to read the MCH and MCV value, and if it is less than the suggested value, then we should ask for the thalassemia trait. And if mother is found to be a carrier, her husband should be tested, and if both are found to be carriers, then we should offer proper genetic counseling. Prenatal diagnosis should be done, and selective termination of affected fetus, if required, should be offered and done. And this is how we can eradicate thalassemia from our country. It is not difficult because our 100% patients are now having antenatal profile. In antenatal profile, CBC is there. We just have to read the value of MCH and MCV. Is warming of blood required before transfusion? Again, there is a misconception. There is no evidence that warming of blood is beneficial to patient when infusion is slow. Keeping the patient warm is important, but when numerous units of blood are administered quickly, sometimes it may become necessary. But for that, there is a special device, blood warmer unit is available, and it should be warm in this blood warmer device, which will not allow the temperature of the blood. It will not allow to increase the temperature more than 42 degrees centigrade, and it will be safe. It should not be done in hot bowl with a hot water. Otherwise, it may cause hemolysis and can create life-threatening complications. WHO has also shown worried for this purpose. How to monitor a patient when she is on transfusion is very important. We all know the vital data should be measured at the beginning at 15 minutes and then later on at every 30 minutes. But important thing is now all of us are having pulse oximeter, which is not costly, and we all are having in our hospital. So we should monitor the patient when she is on blood transfusion with the pulse oximeter. It will also measure the oxygen saturation, and even our staff members are also accustomed with the use of pulse oximeter. They can warn us if oxygen saturation is decreasing, and this will help us in preventing serious complication. Is calcium gluconate required with each unit? No, calcium gluconate is not required with each unit, but when more than 3 bags are given to a person in a row within a day, then our body may not cope up with the rate of decline of free calcium. In adults, there is a rapid liver and kidney metabolism of citrate. Usually prevents the problem of depletion of the calcium. But when more than 3 bags are given at a time in a day to a person, then we may require sometimes calcium gluconate. Therefore, extra calcium is to be given to that purpose. And again, when patient is on blood transfusion, there is a practice to give injection Avil or chloroquine or Lasix and many things. We should not give anything when patient is on blood transfusion unless and until it is required. At the end, I would like to mention 2 things. One thing is this is the time of COVID-19, and this is the essential service. In COVID-19, there is a scarcity of blood transfusion because routine camps which were organized previously are organized in very less number, and special care has to be taken in blood donation camps. But the activity should continue. A donor should not afraid. Blood should be given. Otherwise, the life of a person will be in danger if he requires or if she requires blood transfusion, and if blood is not available. A social distance, a distance practice of the hand hygiene, all other aseptic precaution, all the precautions for the infection prevention control, all the measures which are there as per the government of India should be practiced. But blood transfusion protocol, blood transfusion practice, and blood donation should be continued. At the end, always I usually in my all talks cover few safety tips. So again, few safety tips related to blood transfusion practice. When we intend to transfuse blood, always take written and informed consent for the transfusion. Once the matter was in the court and surgeon told that we took the consent at the time when we took the consent for the surgery, at the same time we have mentioned that patient may require blood transfusion. But then court disagree with this argument. Court noticed that you took the consent for the need of blood transfusion, possibility of the need of blood transfusion, but you did not take a separate consent for the additional risk because of the blood transfusion. So we should take the consent whenever we are giving blood transfusion for the risk because of the blood transfusion. So always take consent before blood transfusion. Always keep cross-match blood ready before performing cesarean section, as it is again the observation of Honorable Supreme Court. The observation does not the guideline or the recommendation or it is must, but observation is the court advice. Court expect this thing from us. So when a person who is practicing in a periphery where blood bank facility is not available, court may give decision in favor of our member. But when we are doing practice in Ahmedabad or Mumbai, where the blood bank facility is easily available, and if we are not keeping cross-match blood ready before performing cesarean section, then court may take notice of this and may take a decision against us. Safety tip number 3, maintain proper hydration while blood transfusion. We should maintain urine output proper, otherwise, and proper hydration should be maintained. Otherwise, this can lead to renal blocks or transfusion related acute lung injury. Again, before any obstetrical surgery, we should always ask for platelet count. PT and APTT sometimes unnoticed some abnormalities, unnoticed, patient may not have any problem, but with the findings, laboratory values, we may come to know some problem, and unnecessary we may land up in post-op complications or during complication during surgery. So this will give us time. This will give us time to correct the deficiency, or we may discuss with the patient, we may take consent, and we may even our team members on super specialists and specialists, everyone regarding the problem. And at the end, before transferring a patient to tertiary care center, many times when we are performing in a periphery area where blood transfusion facility is not available, and when there is a massive blood loss, we are usually referring the patient to a tertiary care center. But for referring a patient, usually it will take minimum 20 minutes for the discussion, for the counseling, for taking consent, for calling ambulance, for all the arrangement. It may take 15 to 20 minutes. If we can keep cryoprecipitate stored, or if it is available stored cryoprecipitate, then it can be used, it can be given. 1 unit of the cryoprecipitate can be completed within 5, 7 or 10 minutes. Before shifting the patient, we can give 3 to 4 units of cryoprecipitate. Mother, when there is a postpartum hemorrhage, does not die because of postpartum hemorrhage, but usually she dies because of hypofibrinogenemia, occurs because of the PPH, and by giving cryoprecipitate, we are preventing this hypofibrinogenemia. So when patient reaches to the tertiary care center, she will be in a good shape that the doctor practicing in tertiary care center can help her and can save the patient. Otherwise, patient may reach to a tertiary care center where the doctors practicing in tertiary care center cannot help the patient, and patient may lose her life. So this is very, very important. Here it is also very, very important. At Foxy, we are doing advocacy, and we also do advocacy at our state level also to making FFP, cryoprecipitate, all the components available at periphery level. See, for the separation, we require a facility of the separation of the component, which can be at a Mumbai level. But for periphery, it does not require to have this facility. Blood can be separated, component can be separated at a center like Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Delhi, or a big cities, and then it can be transported and it can be stored at periphery level or a rural level. So for when Havmor ice cream can be transported to each and every corner of India, in each and every village, why not the components? This is because of our demand. When we do not demand, it will not become available. Our sensitivity, our demand, and our understanding is our priority is very, very important. If we all from today asking for the components even in periphery, then this will become available within 6 months or 1 or 2 years. But it has to become available, and government has to provide these components in periphery. Just storage facility is required. So this is the consent. I am not going in detail of consent for the blood transfusion. If you wish, I can pass on this consent to Mumbai Obstetric Society, that and they can forward this to all the members. Again, this is the checklist. There are 34 points for the checklist. I am preparing this checklist with Government of India. Nearly it is prepared, ready, but because of this COVID-19 time, now this project is at present not on priority for Government of India. So after some time, this checklist may be released. So if you wish to have this checklist, I may pass on this checklist to you on mail ID. So in conclusion, blood should be used only in those conditions when equally effective alternatives cannot be available or used. Blood transfusion should never be ordered unless it is worth the risk. Whole blood has no indication except when components are not available. Single unit transfusion has no significant therapeutic value. Never take blood of first relation. Never use fresh blood to avoid risk of transmission of infections. Thalassemia screening should be offered to all pregnant women, and we should try to avoid this from our country. The aim is to reduce unnecessary blood transfusion and promote the proper use of blood and blood components. no one should die because of non-availability of blood, and no one should die because of receiving of improper blood transfusion practice and man-made complications. Blood transfusion safety is the priority. It is the red gold. It can save lives, and it is the best gift, most precious gift one can give a human being have. It can save 4 lives at a time. After the ship is sunk, everybody knows how it could have been saved. It is always advisable to keep cross-match blood ready, but to be used only when it is indicated. And the last thing is, which is the base blood. The base blood is the blood which is not with us, which is not used, but it is ready with us, cross-match blood ready for the use. It is the base blood. Once American President Barack Obama, past president, declared that we did not come to fear the future, we came here to save it. So let us work for the proper transfusion practices. Let us work to decrease the maternal mortality. Let us work to achieve the MMR. Let us work to achieve SDG goal for our country. Actually, it is to be achieved by 2030, but I think we all should do combined efforts with Government of India and FOXI, and also do efforts to achieve this by 2020 or 2025, and it is achievable in our country. Many states have already achieved the SDG goal, and at the end, I would like to inform all of you one achievement of FOXI, that today it's a Mother's Day. I wish happy Mother's Day to all lovely caring mothers. I want to inform all of you that FOXI has made one record today in India Book of Records. Today we gave to all our members, there was a campaigning for a walkathon, virtual walkathon for the first time from their terrace, garden, open space, in parking, or from their own homes. And our target was 10 million steps, and I am happy to inform you we have reached 20 million steps. So that's a great achievement for FOXI. We have begun the Mother's Day very well, and we are going to distribute certificate, congratulations, felicitation certificate to all the mothers across India, going to be delivered today, new mothers. And we have many more essay competition, slogan competition. I would not take much time of all of you, but I would like to request all of you, once the MOOCs conference is over, please join with eConclave. It's a unique program. So many well-known personalities are there. Kiran Bedi is going to initiate. Kiran Bedi is there, Sarman Mirza is there, Dia Mirza is there, Deepa Malik, who is an Olympic, Paralympic world champion, and Padma Shri is there. And so many personalities, 2 politicians are there, and of course our gynecologist friends, experts are there. And particularly the scientific program which we have made for the common mass is very, very interesting and getting very popular. Even all this eminent personality, well-known personality has appreciated this program like anything. So I wish all of you, please join for this program. Let us make this program successful. We are aiming for minimum 30,000 viewers for this eConclave, and we hope that like we have achieved our goal for India world record, similarly we would be achieve this goal also. And after that, there is a 1-hour musical program, and the songs only for the mothers will be sung by a professional artist. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and thank you very much, and I wish all of you safe.
I request.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Puneet.
I request Dr. Adi Dastur sir to please hand over the oration plaque to Dr. Alpesh Gandhi.
Oration on the technical minutiae and the details about the blood transfusion services in our country. I really congratulate you on your oration. It's my pleasure to give you a virtual plaque. And I'll just read what is inscribed on the virtual plaque. There's a logo of MOGS on top, and it mentions MOGS, Dr. Bhanuben Mahendra Nanavati Golden Jubilee Oration during the Evolve CME on the rational use of blood transfusion in pregnancy. Orator, Dr. Alpesh Gandhi, Dr. Rishma Pai, President, Dr. Anaita Chavan, Secretary, MOGS. Date, Sunday, 10th May, 2020. It's my great honor and pleasure to virtually hand over this plaque to you. Please receive it virtually. God bless you. Thank you so much.
I have no words to express my feeling. I am thankful to Mumbai Society, to Adi Dastur sir, all the committee members for awarding me this prestigious oration. And I am thankful to all of you. Thank you very much. I wish safety to all of you in this difficult time. And we all, Rishma, again, we had worked together for the AICOG 2017, and again we are together to work. Let us work together for our Foxians, Mumbai Society, Gynec Foxes. And I feel like I am a member of Mumbai Society. Routinely, I am visiting for 4 to 5 programs. But after becoming President Foxy, I think I am a part of Mumbai Society because I am on call with Foxy Society staff. So I am always there virtually in Mumbai. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alpesh. Thank you. We enjoyed your oration.